Morning arrived without warmth. Pepper lay curled in a wooden crate behind the wildlife clinic, his small body pulled tight as if the air itself might strike him. Every sound scraped his nerves. The smell of disinfectant mixed with rain-soaked dirt, unfamiliar and sharp. His ears flattened, not in anger yet, but in the quiet vigilance of something too young to feel safe. He had been found alone near a service road. Paws raw, mother gone, the world louder than instinct had promised. Hands carried him here, careful but foreign. To Pepper, touch meant capture. He pressed his chin down, breath shallow, counting heartbeats he could not slow. Waiting for the moment he would need to fight. A metal door clanged somewhere down the hall. Pepper flinched hard, claws scraping wood. A hiss tore from his throat, thin but fierce, a sound shaped by terror more than threat. He did not know who listened. He only knew that silence never lasted, and surprise was the sharpest danger he understood. Maya, the night technician, paused outside the crate. She had seen this posture before, the tight spiral of a creature surviving on reflex alone. She knelt without opening the latch. Speaking softly, though, she knew words were meaningless. Pepper answered with a snarl, eyes wide, pupils blown dark. Daring the world closer, inside him, fear moved faster than thought. Every shadow carried teeth. Every pause felt like a trap. His body shook, not from cold, but from effort, from holding himself together. The shaking made him angrier. Anger was easier. Anger felt like control, even when it burned through him. A distant bark slipped through the corridor, low and unthreatening. Pepper froze. Dogs were stories written in his bones, heavy paws and ending lines. His hiss sharpened, voice cracking as he threw himself against the crate wall. Wood rattled. Maya stepped back, heart catching at the raw panic she had triggered. The clinic seemed to close in. Light hummed overhead. The smell of another animal lingered calm and ordinary, which somehow made everything worse. Pepper could not place it, could not escape it. His muscles locked, then trembled again, exhaustion leaking through the armor he barely held. Minutes stretched thin. No one reached for him. The barking did not return. Pepper's breath slowed by accident, not choice. He slumped against the crate corner, sides fluttering, eyes never leaving the crack beneath the door. Survival demanded watching, even when strength failed. Maya radioed quietly for help. Not medical, just steady. She knew forcing calm never worked. Pepper needed time, or something else entirely. She dimmed the lights and stepped away, leaving space where fear had been echoing. The room softened, though Pepper did not trust the change. Alone again, he listened. The building settled. Pipes clicked. Rain tapped the roof with patient rhythm. Pepper's ears twitched despite himself. His shaking eased into smaller waves, each one less violent than the last. He did not relax. He simply stopped breaking apart in the quiet. A new scent drifted under the door, warm and familiar in a way Pepper could not explain. Not prey, not threat, something steady. His head lifted a fraction, curiosity pressing against fear. The instinct to hide battled the need to understand what waited beyond the wood. Pepper lay still, caught between worlds. The wild one that taught him to strike first, and another he had not yet named. His eyes closed for a heartbeat, then opened again. The fear was still there, but it no longer filled the room. Somewhere nearby, something breathed calmly, and Pepper listened. The morning light returned thinner than before, slipping through the clinic windows like it was unsure of itself. Pepper lay awake, eyes open long before sound arrived. His body had not rested, only paused. Muscles stayed coiled, ready. Calm hovered nearby, but it did not touch him yet. It simply waited, as if respecting distance. The door opened without a clang this time. Soft footsteps, deliberate and slow. Pepper lifted his head, fear snapping back into place. His ears flattened, mouth parting in a warning hiss that came out weak, almost tired. He hated that weakness more than the fear itself, and it made his claws dig in harder. Maya was not alone. Behind her moved a shape lower to the ground, heavy but unhurried. Pepper saw fur, broad shoulders, a tail that did not lash or rise. The smell hit him first, the same one from the night before. Warm, alive, too close to be ignored. Panic surged like fire through dry grass. Pepper exploded into motion, slamming himself against the crate wall. A snarl ripped from him, sharp and raw, echoing in the small room. This was not threat. This was refusal. His whole body shook as he struck again. Every movement screaming that he would not be taken. Not again, not ever. The dog stopped instantly. He did not bark. He did not step forward. He simply sat where Maya asked him to, a few feet from the crate, posture loose, eyes soft. His breathing was slow enough to hear. That sound confused Pepper more than any noise. It did not match the danger his instincts promised. Pepper hissed again, louder this time, daring the dog to react. Nothing happened. The dog's head tilted slightly. Not curiosity, not challenge, just acknowledgement. As if he saw the fear clearly and decided it was allowed to exist. Pepper's heart hammered harder, anger rising because the world refused to fight back. Maya stayed silent. She lowered herself to the floor beside the dog and rested a hand on his back. "Good, Hank," she whispered. Pepper caught the sound, but not the meaning. Names were useless. What mattered was that the large animal stayed still, like a wall that chose not to fall. The tension peaked inside Pepper's chest, tight enough to hurt. He lunged once more, then stopped mid-motion, breath-breaking. His strength bled out faster than his fear. The crate no longer felt like a battlefield. It felt small. His legs trembled, and the hiss faded into a thin, broken sound. Hank did something unexpected. He lay down, not facing the crate, but beside it, turning his body sideways, exposing his flank. A vulnerable shape offered without ceremony. Pepper stared, mind scrambling for a rule that explained this behavior. There was none. His instincts argued, but they grew quieter. Time stretched again, but differently now. The room held 3 heartbeats instead of 1. Pepper's shaking slowed, not because he felt safe, but because he ran out of energy to be afraid at full volume. His breathing began to match the slow rise and fall beside him, against his will. The closeness was unbearable and soothing all at once. Pepper pressed himself into the crate corner, eyes locked on the dog's ribs moving steadily. No teeth, no lunging, just presence. His body stayed tense, yet something deep inside him loosened. Just enough to breathe without pain, Maya watched from a distance, afraid to disturb the fragile balance. She knew this was not trust. This was truce. A ceasefire negotiated by exhaustion and silence. Pepper had not surrendered his fear. He had set it down briefly, to rest his paws. As the light shifted toward noon, Pepper lowered his head. His eyes closed for a moment longer than before. The dog did not move. The world did not strike. Fear stayed close, but it no longer screamed. For the first time since the road, Pepper existed without fighting every second. The third day arrived without ceremony. No sirens, no sudden hands. Just the low hum of the building waking up. Pepper noticed the quiet first. It felt different now, heavier, like a pause before something changed. His body stayed curled tight, but his ears moved, tracking every small sound as if mapping a future he did not trust. Hank was already there when Pepper opened his eyes. Not close enough to touch, not far enough to ignore. The dog lay on the floor, chin resting on his paws, breathing slow and even. Pepper watched the rise and fall, counting it without meaning to. Each breath felt like a question asked and answered gently. The crate door opened a few inches. Metal whispered instead of screeching. Panic surged instantly, sharp and familiar. Pepper snapped, teeth flashing, claws scraping plastic. The sound came from deep inside him, louder than his body could carry. Fear spoke first, always first, before thought had a chance to stand. Maya froze. A second human stood behind her, a man with rough hands and careful eyes. His name was Leo, though Pepper only sensed the calm in his stillness. He didn't move closer. He didn't retreat. He simply waited, letting Pepper exhaust the storm he carried in his chest. The air thickened. Pepper's body shook as he struck the crate again, strength burning fast. He expected the dog to rise, to bark, to claim the space. Hank did none of it. Instead, he shifted slightly, turning his back, trusting the silence to do the work he would not. That was when the fear cracked. Not cleanly, not all at once. Pepper's snarl faltered mid-sound, breaking into something raw and uneven. His muscles locked, unsure whether to attack or collapse. The confusion hurt more than the anger. Instinct demanded danger, but reality refused to provide it. Leo spoke softly, not to Pepper, not to Hank, but into the room itself. The tone carried patience, not command. Pepper did not understand the words, but he felt the absence of pressure. No one reached in. No one forced the moment. The world bent around his fear instead of crushing it. The crate door stayed open. That was the test. Pepper crept forward an inch, then froze. The floor beyond the crate smelled different, cleaner, unfamiliar. Freedom felt like another trap. His heart pounded hard enough to blur his vision. He hissed once, a warning to the universe. Hank finally moved. He stood, slow and deliberate, then sat again farther away, creating space like an offering. The message landed where words never could. Pepper's body trembled, then lowered. One paw slid out, touching the floor. Nothing happened. The world held its breath with him. The emotional peak hit silently. Pepper stepped fully out of the crate, legs shaking, spine arched, ready to flee or fight. Every instinct screamed retreat, but exhaustion weighed heavier than fear now. He stood there, exposed, breathing fast, waiting for the pain that always came next. It didn't come. Instead, there was only the dog's steady presence and the human's quiet respect. Pepper's ears lifted slightly, catching sounds without panic for the first time. His body remained tense, but his mind softened, just enough to stay where he was. Minutes passed like hours. Pepper lowered himself to the floor, not relaxed, not safe, but grounded. Hank did not approach. Maya smiled without stepping closer. Leo exhaled slowly, as if afraid sound might break the spell. The room felt altered, stitched together by restraint and trust. As the day faded, Pepper curled near the crate's edge, no longer inside, no longer fully out. The space between fear and peace was thin, but it existed. His eyes closed briefly, then opened again. Progress did not feel like victory. It felt like survival learning a new shape. The fourth day settled in like a held breath. The room felt familiar now, which made it dangerous in a new way. Pepper knew the corners, the smells, the rhythm of footsteps. Familiarity invited memory, and memory carried weight. His body stayed low, eyes alert, as if comfort itself might turn sudden. Hank remained a constant shape across the floor, closer than before, but still careful. Pepper watched him from the edge of the crate, muscles tight. The dog's presence no longer sparked instant fury, yet it stirred something uneasy. Trust felt like a cliff. One wrong step and the fall would be absolute. Maya returned with a folded towel and quiet hands. Pepper sensed the intention before the movement finished. His body reacted first. A sharp hiss tore out of him, claws flashing, sound ricocheting off the walls. Fear rose fast, louder than thought, demanding distance, demanding control. Hank lifted his head but did not stand. His eyes followed Pepper without urgency. That restraint twisted something inside Pepper's chest. He struck the floor with a paw, breath ragged, anger boiling because the world refused to match his volume. The towel hovered, and panic surged higher. The emotional peak arrived without warning. Pepper lunged toward the towel, snapping hard, teeth catching fabric. The motion shocked even him. His body trembled violently afterward, energy spilling everywhere. He expected hands, restraint, punishment. His heart slammed, preparing for impact that never came. Maya dropped the towel and stepped back. Silence rushed in, thick and heavy. Pepper stood frozen, breath tearing in and out, eyes wide. Hank shifted closer, then stopped, sitting just within sight, offering presence instead of pressure. The contrast cracked the moment open. Pepper's aggression dissolved into shaking. His legs wobbled, strength bleeding out. The snarl faded into a broken sound, half breath, half plea. Fear had nowhere left to push. His body curled inward, smaller than before, as if trying to disappear in plain sight. A new figure appeared at the doorway. A woman with gray hair and patient posture. Dr. Ellen did not enter fully. She knelt where Pepper could see her face and waited. No tools. No rush. Pepper watched her eyes, searching for intent, finding none sharp enough to fight. Time slowed again. Pepper lowered himself to the floor, chest pressed flat, still watching. Hank lay down too, mirroring the motion without copying it exactly. The room felt balanced on that choice. Fear whispered. But it no longer screamed orders he had to obey. Dr. Ellen spoke softly, voice steady like a low current. Pepper didn't understand the words, but the tone wrapped around him. His breathing steadied against his will. The world didn't advance. It stayed where it was, letting him exist without demand. The towel remained on the floor, untouched. Pepper glanced at it, then away. He had survived the moment he thought would break him. His body stayed tense, but the storm inside thinned. He shifted slightly closer to Hank, not touching, but choosing proximity. As the light dimmed, Pepper curled near the crate again, not hiding, just resting. Hank's breathing filled the space beside him. Fear stayed present, but quieter now, no longer the only voice. The day ended without victory. Only endurance, gently reshaped into possibility. Morning arrived softer than the days before, filtered through clouds that muted the world. Pepper woke without jolting. Fear was still there, coiled and watchful, but it no longer struck first. His body rested in a low curl near the crate, half in shadow, half in light. As if testing which side felt safer to exist in, Hank entered quietly with Maya, nails clicking once, then stopping. The dog did not cross the room. He simply sat and waited, posture loose, eyes calm. Pepper watched him, chest tight. Sitting was different from lying down. It was a choice that carried intention, and Pepper felt it pressed gently against his instincts. Maya set down a shallow bowl, then stepped away. The smell reached Pepper slowly, warm and real. Hunger stirred beneath fear, an old argument resurfacing. His ears flicked. He hissed once, out of habit, out of memory. The sound echoed weaker than before, as if it no longer fully believed itself. Hank shifted closer and then did the unthinkable. He sat beside Pepper, not facing him, not crowding him, just there, a quiet weight at his side. Pepper's body went rigid, every nerve screaming danger. His heart pounded hard enough to blur the room, the old warning sirens blaring at full volume, the emotional peak struck like lightning. Pepper snapped, a sharp, sudden burst of teeth and sound. Fear poured out of him, raw and frantic. He expected movement, recoil, retaliation. Instead, Hank stayed seated. He didn't flinch. He breathed. The lack of response cracked the moment wide open. Pepper froze, breath ragged. His aggression had nowhere to land. The dog's warmth pressed into the air beside him, undeniable and steady. Confusion hurt worse than fear. His body trembled violently, anger draining into exhaustion. The fight slipped out of him, leaving only shaking and breath. Hank leaned slightly, closing the smallest distance without touching. The gesture was quiet, almost invisible. Pepper's instincts argued loudly, but his body refused to obey them now. He stayed, his claws loosened. The shaking slowed, then softened. As if the storm had finally reached empty ground. Maya's breath caught, but she did not move. Leo and Dr. Ellen watched from the doorway, afraid to disturb what was happening. Pepper lowered his head, not in surrender, but in relief. His ears stayed alert, yet his eyes softened. Resting on nothing in particular, the room felt altered, stitched together by patience. Pepper's breathing matched Hank's without effort. Fear was still present, still real, but it no longer commanded every muscle. He existed beside another being without preparing for impact, and the realization settled slowly, carefully. Pepper shifted closer, just enough to feel the dog's warmth through the air. It was not trust. It was permission. Permission to pause. Permission to not fight for a moment. His body chose stillness, and the world respected it. The bowl remained untouched. That no longer mattered. What mattered was that Pepper stayed where he was. Alive. Aware. Not alone. Hank remained seated, a quiet sentinel who asked for nothing and offered everything simply by staying, as the day stretched on. Pepper closed his eyes for a long breath. Fear did not vanish. It changed shape. It learned a new sound, softer than the snarl that once defined him. Beside the dog, Pepper rested, and for the first time fear did not speak alone.